Hey there, tribe. What does Mississippi, alter egos, and Fudruckers all have in common? Stay tuned to find out. Hi, tribe. Welcome to Your Drum Your Way. We are here with the phenomenal, with the outstanding, with the super talented Derek Blanks. Hi, Derek.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm great.
Derek is going to tell us a little bit about his story, and you all are going to learn some fantastic tips about how you can look fly. I want to just start off with, so I know when we were talking, you were talking about how you are super passionate about art in general. And I think a lot of times because you're so known for photography that people don't know that you have other skills and talents about art. So talk to me a little bit about just your passion for art in general.
My passion for art began probably when I could write. So basically for the beginning of my life. I've always been drawing. I've always been fascinating with faces, people, and I think a little bit of that is evident in my photography. So, you know, I look at life as art, really. You know, most artists do. They live, they breathe it. You know, they can't help it when they watch a movie, read a magazine. It all translates and goes back to, you know, that foundation.
Got it. So there's a lot of different categories, and I was learning this when I was talking to you because I wish that art was my talent. It's not. But there's a lot of different categories in art. How do you know, or how do you not even get distracted by other industries, or how do you know that photography is what kind of your sweet spot is versus drawing or painting or all the other things you talked about?
You know, people ask me all the time, like, why aren't you drawing anymore, or why aren't you painting? And then my reply would be, I am. I do it every day.
Okay.
So in some form or fashion, you know, with the computer world, Adobe Photoshop, even editing, I use all those resources and I apply it. Just the other day I did like a Nicki Minaj illustration. I've done a Photoshop illustration that's been on the computer of Brandy Norwood, who's behind us.
Right.
I've shot her and I've drawn her. So, and those were paid commissions. So I look at any medium like that, which means painting, pastel, chalk, printography, or photography. I look at it as just a medium.
Okay.
So all those elements I learned in school, like the drawing, the perspective, the shading, the shadows, the lights, the darknesses, I apply in Photoshop on a daily basis.
Got it. So technically you're still doing it, it's just in a different...
Exactly.
Okay, got it. So let's talk about your brand.
Okay.
Because it's an incredible brand, and you've built a really great brand.
Well,
so thank you. Because now that means somebody has something to go for, right? You built a pathway because you're a trailblazer. So talk to me about what is some advice that you can give people for when they're building a brand, and then how did you build your brand to where it is now?
You know, the first piece of advice I would give is consistency. And that's in branding too. You know, that's in building your brand as far as your logo goes, being consistent, how you present yourself as far as Derek Blanks Photography, or D Blanks, how consistent you are, you know, on your social medias. If you have the option to brand yourself with one name, like DerekBlanks.com or D Blanks, do that. But if you don't have that option, sometimes your domain name may be taken. Think of creative ways that basically mean the same thing. And I can't say this enough. Brand yourself with your name. No abbreviations, no alternate spellings. You know, that's the best thing that you could do. Now, what I did for myself is I took all of the resources I learned in schooling, you know, the graphic design, the printmaking, the photography, and I basically use those resources to brand myself versus paying a graphic designer and relying on them to get my vision or not to get it, or simply not having the funds to pay a graphic designer.
Right.
So, you know, being resourceful, you know, I know actors and actresses where they know how to do makeup, styling, all that. And, you know, that's good to know because in that world, that's part of their brand.
Right.
So if that's messed up, if their image is messed up, they're pretty messed up too.
Right.
And the same thing applies with me. So I utilize all those resources. There are promotional books that I could send to potential clients like Essence, Sony Records, Interscope, Ebony Magazine. And I printed out cards that I can hand out to clients, potential clients, and also go to different studios, music studios, to kind of get new clientele as well, you know, new independent artists or whatever. And I kept it consistent, even with my branding material, like my book. The same color scheme, you know, the website still the same color scheme. If I change up the colors, I just rotate them. You know, all those things are very important. And your social media, keeping that brand evident. You know, the most simple thing is a T-shirt with your logo on it. And, you know.
I see you got your staff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if we go out on set somewhere, or if they're helping me on set and I have another production company, people automatically know that that's me, and you know, it's a certain quality that's expected with that. And you know, it always amazes me when my assistants go out and they tell me people recognize them or their shirt, and they may not be people in the industry, but it doesn't say Derek Blanks, it says zblanks.com, and they know what it is.
Because you built a brand. Okay, perfect. No, I think that's great. I know when we were talking too, you were talking a lot about you went down the traditional path in a lot of ways, right? You told me about, you know, you went to school. You told me that, you know, you had some of those jobs where it was like, I can't believe I have to keep going here. The biggest one was this long commute that you had. And so I want to talk about what was the straw that broke the camel's back for you, and what made you decide that, no, I actually, I can't work for anyone else anymore. I'm just going to do this myself.
You know, starting off as an artist and as a photographer, I tell my assistants this all the time too. You know, you really have to do what you have to make ends meet. You have to provide for your craft. So if you're not well-known photographer or either working photographer, you have to do what you need to in order to get to that level. If that means work at Walmart photo department, you know, at the mall photo department, or as maintenance, whatever it takes to feed that passion. So I felt I had put in my time. You know, I built my clientele. I had started doing hair magazines by going to different salons, offering my services, and I was also working full-time. So the full-time job was to sustain and to make a living. The photography and the painting, the illustration was my passion and my trade from school. So the straw that broke the camel's back is that one time when I was doing commuting, working as an art director for Cedar String, which is a small T-shirt and embroidery place outside of Georgia.
How far? Right. How far was that commute?
It was about an hour, 15 minutes with no traffic.
And if it was traffic, then
it could be anywhere from an hour 30 to 2 hours.
That's a long commute.
Right, and that was really the determining factor because I was commuting there. I was overlooking 2 artists, and they weren't really capable of producing what I needed. So at the end of the day, I was doing their work too, because they reported to me. And I had something that I didn't hire these people. I was kind of just thrown in it to make it work. So it was in a smaller town, and they really weren't used to seeing African Americans at all, especially African Americans that were doing something. So I had recently gotten a car accident, so I was in the rental car. And I was pulled over, racially profiled. They checked that it was a rental car. You know, I told them I worked down the street, and he called my boss to verify it. He asked me to get in the back of the cop car So I did because I didn't want any trouble at all anyway. So I'm just thinking to myself at that time, you know, it's a wrap. I called, you know, my boss at the same time. I told him I was being harassed, this, that, and the other, small town. Of course, he probably knew who the cop was, all that. The cop was calling to verify him that I worked for him. So I told him, you know, he's like, were you aware you were swerving or whatever? I was like, was I speeding? He's like, no. You know, and that determining factor let me know that it wasn't for me. And, you know, that really pushed me. I think it was God's way of being like, okay, it's your time. Yeah. Go ahead, do what you want to. Because, you know, I've realized that things happen in my life that forces me to do something. And a lot of times I may be fearful of doing it until something happens that pushes me to do it. Yeah. And I think that was the one instance that was like, okay, if you don't want to quit on your own and step out on faith, let me give you something to show you.